What is going on, Raiders? Soda Dragon here. Welcome and hope you guys are doing well. So today I got for you guys a normal and hard Hydra team. It's the same team and it one keys them both, and it's going to utilize actually two rares, one of which I think is a underrated rare. Now this underrated champion is a void rare, but before you guys start complaining about how hard it is to pull void rares, here is the thing. This guy is actually a permanent fusion, and he's this guy right here, Rockbeast. If you guys didn't know, this guy is OP for the Hydra, especially normal and hard. And look what's required to fuse him. Basically only uncommons, a few of which are farmable. So yes, this guy is very accessible. So guys, here is your full Hydra team, and check it out. No legendaries. This is one key hard, and obviously if it can one key hard, it can one key normal as well. So guys, let me explain to you real quickly my general strategy for dealing with the Hydra, and then I'll explain how these particular champs fit into those roles. So guys, remember, I'm just gonna explain to you my particular strategy for dealing with the Hydra. There are plenty of other strategies out there and they work. So this is not the only way to kind of look at things and strategize about things, but this is my way, the way I like to do things. So the first thing I look for in the Hydra team is AoE increase speed or AoE decrease speed. Those are the very first things I look for in a Hydra team. And why is this? This doesn't deal with any particular Hydra's mechanics, so we're not overcoming any particular Hydra head's mechanics, but what we're trying to deal with is the swallowing mechanic of the Hydra. That is that devouring mechanic and the regurgitation mechanic. And what this increased speed and decreased speed gives us is it gives us more time. So that is a basic function. No matter what the rotation is, no matter what the affinities of the heads, they're always going to devour you, and you're going to need to get your champs out. Always. So how do we deal with this? Firstly, increase speed and decrease speed in AoEs. So as far as the AoE increase speed, we got Apothecary for that. So he does an AoE increase speed, and this is the strong version of increase speed. Now, as far as the AoE decrease speed, this is where Rockbeast comes in. As a rare, he has the strong version of decrease speed on an AoE. Now, it is for a 1-turn duration. It's not a typical 2-turn duration, but Rockbeast is doing pretty good as a rare, having that strong version of debuff. A lot of the rares, their debuffs are the weak versions of those debuffs. So having a strong version decrease speed on a rare is actually really good. So guys, secondly, what am I looking for in my Hydra team? It's going to be provoke. So what do I mean by provoke? That is that debuff. I want firstly a primary provoke champion, and this champion must have provoke on their A1, and it must have a high chance to land, over 50%. That is what I consider a primary provoke champion. A cooldown provoke, except for a few select exceptions, is not good enough. They must have an A1 provoke, and it must have a high chance to land. That is an over 50% chance to land. And in addition to that, I'm looking at having multiple champs in provoke sets. Now, if I can get champs in provoke sets that have AoE A1s, all the better, but that's much harder to find if you're going for a non-legendary team like you guys see right here. So as far as the A1 provoke, who is doing that for me? Who is giving me the high chance to land that A1 provoke? That is Rockbeast here. And what is so awesome about him is he is void. He cannot weak hit. So you don't have to worry about the affinity of the head you're trying to provoke, which is that Decay head. It doesn't matter what affinity he is, Rockbeast is going to provoke him. At least has a really high chance to. And once again, that ignores affinity, so we don't have to worry about that. And the good thing about those sets as well, it doesn't matter who the champs are that put on those sets. That chance to provoke will land no matter what. Even on a weak hit, that provoke set will land that provoke. So guys, can you use War Chief as the main provoker? Yes, you can, and he does have a really nice cooldown provoke, a 3-turn provoke on a book 2-turn cooldown. So yeah, you can use that, and you can permanently keep that Head of Decay locked down. But remember, if the affinity is bad, then he can weak hit, and his A1 provoke is pretty weak as well. So just remember that, and really he's not bringing much else to the table. Notice here, Rockbeast is fulfilling multiple roles. Not only is he the main provoker, that is that A1 provoker, but he's bringing in that AoE decrease speed. So typically I like my champions to fill multiple roles instead of just one. So for example, even if the Head of Decay is not in that particular rotation, what is Rockbeast doing? AoE decrease speed. He's filling a role, and he's self-buffer too. So he's filling more roles than just a provoker. Whereas War Chief, if the Head of Decay is not in rotation, you just wouldn't use him, because he only fills one role. So once again, typically I like my champs to fill multiple roles. Now you can use Contra as well with her passive. She can keep that Head of Decay locked down. So that's another great option. But typically the simplest thing for that provoke role for me and my strategy is having an A1 provoker, not a cooldown provoker. Granted, the exceptions I just talked about. Now some of you guys might be wondering, Well, you have one dedicated provoke champ in Rockbeast, plus you say you have multiple champs in provoke sets. That sounds like a lot of provoke. That sounds like a lot of effort put in to deal with one Hydra head out of 6. Isn't that going a little overboard? Now, personally for me, my answer would be no, it's not going overboard, because there is no more troublesome head than the head of Decay. There is no head that makes me reset my runs more than the head of Decay run amok. And there is no bigger time waster in the Hydra than the head of Decay. So above all the other heads, yes, absolutely, I want to control the head of Decay. So what kind of bad things happen if you don't control that head of Decay? Well, you get bad things happening, like for example, the head of Decay cleansing right before that poison cloud is put up. That's bad. Or you get, for example, one of the Hydra heads swallowing one of your champions, and then the head of Decay cleansing all the heads. They don't have any debuffs on that Hydra head that swallowed your champion, and they're so much harder to get out because of that. They don't have decreased defense or HP burn, whatever. Or you get situations like, for example, one of the Hydra heads has swallowed one of your champions, and the head of Decay puts up that egg shield over that head. I mean, that's pretty much a reset. So really, those types of things, those instant reset scenarios, are the things I'm trying to avoid, because they are the biggest time wasters in my opinion. And quality of life to me is time. The more I have to reset, the more it wastes my time. So guys, number 3, I am looking for an answer to the head of Torment. So the way I build my Hydra teams is every head must have an answer. Every head must have a counter in all of my teams. I don't build my teams for the starting 4 heads, and let's say another head pops in that's not in the starting 4, you just reset the run. I don't build my teams like that. I like to have an answer for every head all the time, so it doesn't matter what heads pop up. So we're going to need an answer for the head of Torment. So what does that mean? It means a few things, either with Veil or Perfect Veil to kind of preempt the fears and prevent them, or cleansing off the fears afterwards. So either to Hanorok, Doom Priest, or you see Inquisitor Shamail here. He can cleanse fears as well. So Inquisitor Shamail is probably the easiest answer to the head of Torment, but a lot of people I think are confused. They don't think they can do Hydra without Inquisitor, and that is simply false. The highest damage teams I have seen don't even include him. So no, he's not required at all. Like I said, the record damage teams don't even have him. He's just an easy answer if you happen to have him. So definitely if you have him, use him. But you're not even 100% required to deal with the head of Torment. If you want, you can play with RNG, occasionally take on those fears and occasionally lose your turns, and maybe it'll be fine. So it's up to you guys. You can run that way if you want. It's just, I personally like to have an answer for the head of Torment. And the simplest answer, yes, is Shamail. He's going to be the cleansing option. But you can go Veil, Perfect Veil. That is definitely an option. And if you want to play it a little loose, you can run with no option against the head of Torment, and you might get lucky. All right, guys, on to number 4. So what is number 4? It is a way to deal with the rest of the Hydra heads. Remember, we have 2 taken care of. Number 1, we have the head of Decay taken care of with Provoke, and number 2, we have the head of Torment taken care of with Shamail. But as I mentioned, you guys can use a cleanser or you can use Veil for him. It's up to you guys. But we got 4 other Hydra heads left. So how do we deal with them? With number 4, which is AoE block buffs. AoE block buffs counters the other 4 Hydra heads. So in total, we have all 6 heads taken care of once we have AoE block buffs. So for example, the head of Wrath, you keep him from self-buffing with block buffs because he hits pretty hard, period. But if he self-buffs with that increased attack buff, yeah, he's probably gonna wipe your team. I mean, so yes, you do definitely prevent that. Plus you prevent his block debuffs with block buffs, that preemptive block buffs. So the head of Mischief with block buffs, you turn the head of Mischief from a buff stealer to a buff remover, which is really important to deal with him if you don't have enough resistance. Against the head of Blight, preemptive block buffs helps you against that poison cloud, because that poison cloud is not put up at all. And the head of Suffering, you keep him from self-buffing with that reflect damage plus that ally protection with block buffs. So guys, on this team, it is Ugo here that is functioning as our AoE block buffs champion. Now, the best block buffs champion would probably be Umbral Enchantress, because she can keep it up with 100% uptime. There's no other champion that can do that, so she'd probably be your number 1 choice. Plus she's Void, so she will never weak hit. Another choice is going to be Deliana, so she's a really good choice. Plus she was a free champion as well. So any of those would be excellent candidates for your AoE block buffs. All right, guys, next up, number 5, how to do enough damage, especially to regurgitate your champs out. So how are we doing enough damage on this team? Well, firstly, everybody on the team either has War Master or Giant Slayer, and we need an AoE HP burn champion. Okay, so who is that? It's obviously Akoth here. He has a nice 2-turn AoE HP burn on a 3-turn cooldown, and that 3-turn cooldown is not booked at all. That is just what you get out of the box, so to speak, when you get ACOT. So he's definitely a good AoE HP burn champ, but better HP burn champs would be champs that can place HP burns, because they can place those through the poison cloud if you didn't preempt it. So champs like Mordecai can do it. Also Tumacia can do it as well. But once again, how do we do enough damage on this team, especially to get those heads to regurgitate our champs out? Everybody has either War Master or Giant Slayer, and one champion is going to be an AoE HP burn champ. So guys, lastly, number 6, we're looking at damage mitigation / healing. So firstly, everyone on the team is a self-healer because they have the Life Drinker Master. So when they're under 50% health, they're going to heal back for a percentage of damage dealt. Works really well in addition to having that War Master or Giant Slayer. If you don't have War Master or Giant Slayer, Life Drinker doesn't do a ton. But with those, it does do a ton of healing. Plus, you have an A1 AoE champ. It works so much better. But if you don't, it's fine as well. Just put it on everybody. Secondly, we have dedicated healers. We have Apothecary here and Ugo that can heal up the team. And lastly, we want some sort of damage mitigation champion. So that can either be AoE decreased attack, it can be increased defense, strengthen. Now, Ursula here happens to have all of that. But you don't necessarily need all of that. Let's say you had a champ that had AoE decreased attack and healed the team. Okay, that's good enough. You don't necessarily need all those things. Just Ursula provides all that, plus she revives. So she's really good in that particular role. But if you don't have one champ with all of those buffs and debuffs, it's fine to bring in some buffs or maybe some debuffs. That's fine. You don't need an all-in-one champ. But yeah, Ursula is really good in this role, but she is in the flex spot. So really, you can substitute her in with any support champion. So guys, as far as the team setup, I do have Apothecary here in the lead because Apothecary will be turn meter boosted by Shamil if the Head of Torment is in the rotation. And when Apothecary is turn meter boosted and takes more turns, Apothecary can in turn meter boost everybody else and put that increased speed on everybody else. So really, Apothecary getting more turns means everybody gets more turns. But it's up to you guys. Personally, I like to have Apothecary in the lead to really turn meter boost everybody at a really fast rate because he's being turn meter boosted so often. All right, guys, on to the skill instructions. So for Apothecary here, I do have the A3 as the first priority and the A2 as the second priority. For Rockbeast, I completely turn off the A2 here. Now for Ugo, you can have everything as default, but I do like to turn on the A2 here as the first priority. The A3 I just leave as default. Now Akoth here, you have to turn on the Pyroclasm as the first priority. That is the AoE HP burn because that's not his first priority. But basically anybody here that has the AoE HP burn, put it as their first priority. Inquisitor Shamil, you can just leave him default. And Ursula as well, I just leave her default. Now guys, this is full auto, but how do you make it work? Well, firstly, if the Head of Decay is in the rotation, then you click on that Head of Decay. Once again, on full auto. So you target that Head of Decay with that targeted auto. Now, what happens when somebody else swallows one of your champions? Well, firstly, you can keep it on auto and click on that head that has swallowed your champion if the Head of Decay is provoked. All right. And once the Head of Decay takes its turn, that provoke is off, then you click back to the Head of Decay, re-provoke it, and then click back on to the other head that has swallowed champion. You can do it that way, and therefore just keep on the full auto the whole time. A lot of times that AoE HP burn will just do it for you. Will just regurgitate your champion out. That's a lot of times good enough, and some of the AoEs that you're doing. But another option is if the Head of Decay is in the rotation, just put auto on and click on it. But if somebody else swallows your champion, then you click off of auto and you manual until you get your champion back out. That way you can really be precise in how you make sure the Head of Decay is provoked and yet do enough damage to the head to regurgitate your champion. So there are two different ways to go with it. All right, guys, on to everyone's gear stats and masteries, starting with Ursula here. So how have I get her? I have her in a provoke set and a perception set. On to her total stats. So I have her HP at 46,000. I have the attack at 2,200. I have the defense at 2,800. I have the speed 212. I have the crit rate 35%, crit damage 107%. I have the resist at 388 and the accuracy at 257. So what stats are important? Well, firstly, the HP and the defense for the tankiness and survivability. Attack is not relevant. Speed over 200, especially if you're shooting for hard. Definitely over 200. Now, crit damage not important. Resist, what you're looking for if you're going for normal is 320 plus resistance. Now, this is a general resistance number, not taking into account any resistance or accuracy modifiers. So nothing like that. In general, to resist most of the debuffs, those heads throughout, not including the head of mischief. So for normal, it's going to be 320 plus, and for hard, it's going to be 350 plus. Once again, not including the head of mischief. We'll talk about the head of mischief and our mischief tank Shemale a little bit later. Now, as far as the accuracy, once again, not taking into account buffs, debuffs, what you're looking for normal is 140 plus accuracy, and what you're looking for hard is 190 plus accuracy. So you see both the resistance and accuracy numbers are good enough for both normal and hard. Onto our masteries. So down the offense tree here, we do have Life Drinker, as I mentioned, so we heal for a percentage of damage dealt when we're under 50% health. Works really well in conjunction with either War Master or Giant Slayer. Here we have War Master. Now down the support tree, we do have the buff extending and debuff extending masteries here. So this would be Master Hexer for potentially extending her debuffs that decrease attack. And we also have Lasting Gifts here for potentially extending her buffs. Now, Lasting Gifts, it does kind of mess things up with regard to having a mischief tank. So if you have one person that is supposed to draw the fire of the mischief head by having more buffs than the other champions, this can sometimes throw things off. So if you feel like your mischief tank is not drawing enough fire from the head of mischief, is not being targeted enough, then don't put Lasting Gifts on, because Lasting Gifts is going to make things a little bit more complicated. Some champions are going to get more buffs than your dedicated mischief tank. So if that's causing problems for you, go ahead and take off Lasting Gifts. Next up, guys, is Inquisitor Shemale. So how have I geared him? I have him in a provoke set and a resistance set. Now, guys, remember, if you're using your Shemale as a mischief tank as well, you're going to want a blood shield accessory. Now, is it absolutely required? No, it is not, but it definitely helps. So put a blood shield accessory on your Shemale to make sure he most of the time has one more buff than the rest of your other champions. Onto his total stats. So I have his HP at 43,000, I have the attack at 2,900, I have the defense at 2,500, I have the speed 181, crit rate 89%, crit damage 178%, resist 468, and accuracy 138. So what stats are important? Well, firstly, the HP and the defense for the tankiness. Attack, yes, if you want to do damage, you can push up that attack number. Speed, make sure he's slower than everybody else. If you want to use him as a mischief tank, but he doesn't have to be that slow. Just slow enough that his buffs fall off slower than everybody else on your team. Crit damage, yes, if you want to do damage. Resist for a mischief tank, if that's what you're using him for, we're looking at having 350 plus resist for normal and 410 plus resist for hard. So if you want him as your mischief tank, those are the numbers that you're shooting for. Once again, over 350 resistance for normal as a mischief tank and over 410 resistance for hard as a mischief tank. Now, accuracy, you can put a little bit into accuracy if you want that buff reduction on the A1, if you want to use them for that. But if you don't have to put anything into accuracy. On to masteries. So if everybody else on your team has enough resistance and you don't end up picking up that many debuffs, then you're going to want to go Giant Slayer here, because it's not going to counterattack that often with this A1 because your other champions aren't taking on debuffs that often. But if your champions are taking on a lot of debuffs, then you're going to want to go Giant Slayer here because of all the counterattacks that he's getting. So it's up to you guys and how much resistance you have on the rest of your team. Now, as far as the defense tree here, I do like to go Deterrence to potentially get an extra hit against the Head of Torment to further turn meter boost our leader here, which is Apothecary. Next up, guys, we got Ugo. So how have I get her? I have her in a Relentless set and a Speed set. Onto her total stats. So I have her HP at 51,000, I have the attack at 1,800, I have the defense at 3,600, I have the speed 213, crit rate 20%, crit damage 96%, resist 408, and accuracy 232. So what stats are important? Well, the HP and the defense for the tankiness, attack is not relevant, speed over 200, especially if you're going for hard, crit damage not important, resist, once again, we're looking at over 320 for a general resistance number for normal and over 350 as a general resistance number for hard. So 408, we're good to go. And as far as the accuracy for normal, over 140 accuracy, and for hard, over 190 accuracy. So at 232 here, we're good to go there too. Onto our masteries. So now in the offense tree here, we do have War Master, so we're getting bonus damage based off enemy max HP, and we do have that Life Drinker mastery as well to heal her back up. And important down the support tree, we do have Master Hexer here to potentially extend her block buffs from a 2-turn block buffs to a 3-turn block buffs. Next up, guys, is Akot. So how have I get him? I have him in a Relentless set and a Resistance set. Onto his total stats. So I have the HP at 46,000, I have the attack at 2,200, I have the defense at 3,100, I have the speed 201, crit rate 31%, crit damage 103%, resist 444, and accuracy 202. So what stats are important? Firstly, the HP and the defense for the tankiness, attack is not relevant, speed over 200 for everybody, especially if you're doing hard, or as close to it as you can get. Crit damage not important. Resist, once again, we're looking at over 320 for normal and over 350 for hard, not including any buffs, debuffs that modify resistance or accuracy. Those are the general numbers we're shooting for, and 444, we're good to go. As far as accuracy, over 140 for normal and over 190 for hard, not including any buffs, debuffs, modifiers. So 202, we're good to go. Onto his masteries. So down the offense tree here, we do have War Master, so we're getting bonus damage based off enemy max HP, and we have Life Drinker as well to heal up when he's under 50% HP. And down the support tree here, we have Master Hexer for potential extending his AoE HP burn from 2 to 3 turns. Next up, guys, the star of the show, Rockbeast. So how have I geared him? I have him in a Relentless set and a Perception set. Onto his total stats. So I have his HP at 47,000, I have the attack at 1,700, I have the defense at 2,300, speed 201, crit rate 51%, crit damage 127%, resist 398, and accuracy 230. So the stats are important. Well, firstly, the HP and the defense for the tankiness, especially since he's provoking the Head of Decay all the time. Attack not relevant, speed over 200 if you're doing hard, especially. Crit damage not important. Resist, we're looking at over 320 for normal and over 350 for hard as a general resistance number, not including any modifiers from buffs or debuffs. So 398, we're good to go. And accuracy, we're looking at over 140 for normal and over 190 for hard, not including any modifiers from buffs or debuffs. So here at 230, we're good to go. Onto his masters. So now in the offense tree here, we do have War Master, so we're getting bonus damage based off enemy max HP. Plus we have Life Drinker, so we're healing up when he's under 50% HP. Now down the support tree, we have Master Hexer here to extend his debuffs potentially. Now, this doesn't work for Provoke, but this works for his decreased speed. So instead of an AoE 1-turn decreased speed, we have a potential 2-turn decreased speed with this. And lastly, guys, we got Apothecary. So how have I geared him? I have him in a Resistance set and a Relentless set. Onto his total stats. So I have his HP at 52,000, I have the attack at 2,000, I have the defense at 2,200, I have the speed 227, crit rate 30%, crit damage 120%, resist 424, and accuracy 122. So what stats are important? Well, firstly, the HP and the defense for the tankiness and the survivability. Attack is not relevant. Speed as fast as you can make him. Crit rates, if you want him to crit heal, you can put crit rate on him. It's up to you guys. I personally like him better without crit rate and with, let's say, a defense percentage or HP percentage glove instead of that crit rate glove, because he's tankier and I'd rather have him faster as well than having the ability to crit heal. So crit heal is not high on my priority list for my Apothecary, but if you can build it in, go for it. Crit damage not important. Resist, once again, we're looking at over 320 for a normal and over 350 for hard. So here we have 424, we're good to go. And accuracy, not important for Apothecary. Onto his masteries. So down the offense tree here, we do have Giant Slayer, so we're getting bonus damage based off enemy max HP. And Apothecary has a triple hitting A1, so this is probably better for him. And we have that Life Drinker as well. Now down the support tree, we have these extra healing masteries here to increase the amount of healing he's doing. This is important as well, lasting gifts, to extend that increased speed buff he gives everybody. So instead of a 2-turn increased speed buff, we potentially here have a 3-turn increased speed buff. Alright guys, that's about it. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you think about this team and if you plan to try it out. And if this video has been helpful to you, make sure to like and subscribe. It's free to you, it helps me out a ton, and it ensures that you don't miss out on any new content. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.